Okay, this is footer number 1. A lot of different reasons we picked this location. I'll show you. It's not the corner, it's the first from the corner outside. You've got all kinds of variables. You got the end foundation pseudo holding up the ends of the building, even though they are caving off. So we are just trying to hold up this side and a little bit down both sides with the lifting arrangement inside, or in there. There's like fence and stuff here, so setting the backhoe up normal to the building or perpendicular to the building only is going to be available here without taking this down to do the corner here, taking the rest of it down to do the corner there. So this was a drive up and go to work situation. Speaking of the little backhoe, he's working like a charm. There's another series that we did where we adapted this equipment to go on the skid steer, but as you can see, we popped one of these hydraulic lines. This stuff was what they used to do to protect it from the rubber hose from the sunlight as a first line of defense, but obviously that's succumbed to the UV. Now the old rubber is baking in the light. Nowadays, when you get new hoses, you can invest in UV stabilized rubber hose. So here it is here hanging off. So I know which one it is. You can't see it right now, but we popped it a little bit so he's leaking, and the one cylinder on that side is leaking a little bit, so we've got some splatter. We're not getting oily ourselves, but I don't know whether it's going to proceed and do all 7 other holes for us or not without a repair day. That would be right along the lines of a technically magic project. Pause and fix equipment. Speaking of which, my chipping hammer, which would have been so nice to break out this foundation, that switch is broken, and I ordered one a month ago in anticipation of this job and have yet to receive it, so I may be investing in a new chipping hammer. But here's our post, first post number 1, ready to get cut to length. What are some other reasons that we chose this area? Well, we picked this all up and then I started notching, as you can see in the previous video, along to install the LVL beam. And I don't know, if it had been plywood sheathing, it wouldn't have made any difference really that I had notched these studs, because likely a big course of plywood sheets would have gone across from the studs above the notch to the studs below and had been anchored into the studs above and below the notch, and everything would have just hung in space. Because this is matched lumber, tongue and groove lumber, the notch is greater than one of the board widths. And so when I notched and removed the stud all the way along here, eventually all this matched lumber and the lower parts of the studs and the plate, that's quite heavy in the window, sat back down to touch the foundation, I think right here-ish. You can see we're off of it there and down through there. But that's just sitting here, and it's opened up outside. So I got the first 16-footer. The first course is going to be 2 16-footers. Then we'll put a 16-footer in the middle on the second layer and an 8 on either end. So I got 1 16, 1 8. I put them up with the, let's get the plumb bob hanging here, but I put them up with the bracket mounted to the first one because I wanted to nail in to that first layer. So I put the bracket on, put that up, and then a friend helped me set the other one up and around into that bracket. And 8 feet ends here. However, the second bracket is ready and waiting there, and the cut off notch is tight to this beam. I messed with the lifting arrangement enough to sit that down tight. That's the most important thing, is that the beam is tight to the bottom of the cut off stud and the bottom surface of the joist. So since that's where everything is, then I nailed up and into the joist with 1 diagonal ring shank nail, and I went up in the wall bay and towed down the joist to the beam and the stud to the beam at the top. So that's all been married together. And then I went outside and I nailed through the siding, through the sheathing, and into this beam at this elevation all the way along. So this is all, once again, been married. But I needed to find out where this footing needed to be outside. So I got the plumb bob around, and I went to the middle hole on that bracket, which has been placed based on the post. Hung the plumb bob down from the center to this plate, made a line there, and those are 4x6 nominal. They're 5.5 actual in the 6-inch dimension. So instead of giving myself 5.5 here, I gave myself 5 3/4. So that's 2.5 plus 3/8 on either side. So it's 2 7/8, 2 7/8. Made a notch, and then I snuck the footing in as close to us as possible. I did also take the level outside. Seemed to me that that wall was tipping in, so I took the big long 8-foot level outside and I used it vertically, which we call checking for plumb, as opposed to horizontally, which we call checking for level, using the tool called a level. Although I have heard some people call it a plumb, but these are things you want to get right unless you're gonna look like a big stupid idiot on a job site. Anyway, I stuck it, on the wall like this. I actually went way up because the vial at the bottom is the one that's closest to my eye here. This is what we want to look at and see. So if that's tight roundabout in the location of this footing to the wall, you can see that we need to migrate out here is level, or excuse me, plumb. I'm being careful with the camera and all my hands and the weight of this level. Anyway, that's 3 inches out. So given that we have to pull the wall 3 inches out like this, and like I said, see, here's where it's torn. You can see that kind of sitting down here on the foundation. Since we want to move the wall out 3 inches, I don't just want to yank it out there first, because there's a chance that it could cascade off the crumbling foundation and the weight of it could fall and pull it down, ripping it further, ripping it in that direction, disturbing the lifting arrangement. And that's, again, like I say, some of these variables that that are in our mind. This is the type of experience that you pay for when you pay somebody like myself, or even somebody who works in this, has worked in this longer. It's to be aware of all the forces and kinetic energy, potential energy that is here right now, and to do our best to work around it, use it to our advantage, and not have it screw us. So in lieu of that, we're going to put the post in. We're going to get a measurement from that bracket to the top surface of this concrete puck, and we're going to bring that measurement to the post laying out here. We're going to cut the post at that measurement. In fact, I may install a convention of getting the measurement and adding 1/4 inch, because putting the weight onto this fresh timber, all the different things, the timber is overall length being wet could lose a 1/16 of an inch from the weight. That footing could press down into the ground, 1/8 of an inch from the weight, and we want to be back. Whatever it is that you do, you want to do it everywhere. So I have to come up with a convention. Maybe I'll do nothing. The most important thing is that you do it the same to every post. So maybe I'll make the measurement from concrete to bottom surface of steel bracket. I got to get this plumb bob shit out of the way. And then I will come in here and put it out through the hole, tip it forward, set it down on the foundation. It'll probably be tight going into the bracket, so I'll take this up a hair, get it in there, bring this down, and then I'll nail in the two, where are we here? The two ends of that bracket I'll nail in. And then I'll probably set up something here and pick this wall that's sitting down from its own weight up again with the bottle jack, maybe right here, and up until I shut the tears up there, or at least I'm off the foundation, and then go outside and nail right up this post through the sheathing outside, each one of these boards to that new post. So now the post is stacked in from bracket to concrete footing, and it's attached to the beam up there, and we've squished the wall back up again so that all the matched lumber seams are tight, and we've nailed them all to that. And then I could probably pick it up in here again, and the post will come right off that footing down there a hair. I'll just be sure that it's not going to drag, and then I'll get around the post with the machine and I'll drive away, and I'll continue to drive away until I pull, pulling at the bottom, until I pull that 3 inches out, whatever it ends up being, and I'll be checking the wall out there for plumb until we're at plumb, and then I'll put the machine in park, and I'll come in here and I'll back this lifting arrangement back down until the post comes back into contact with the footing, and it'll be ostensibly plumb in here because that bracket and this notch are tight, and it'll be so close to plumb that I can beat it with a hammer after all it's been nailed and everything, and kind of massage it. But in terms of this orientation, we'll do that with the machine, and then we'll stick it to the footing underneath everything's weight, and we'll leave it there, and it'll be plumb, level, square. The wall in this area will be plumb. It'll be the weight from this building in this hot spot will be stacked up on there again. The wall will be picked up and suspended on that, so further notching going down will start the weight from this location rather than all the way from the end, hauling it down, which will help us in that regard. And once again, all the things we're keeping in mind as we do this, you know, professionally speaking, you want to be aware of all of it. But so that's where we kind of are. Thanks for watching, and we'll come back when we're further. We'll see you.